Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. There's some more movement with regard to the employees at VA. Potential employees, current employees, all of that stuff. There's been a lot of things going on, right? These massive layoffs, 1,000 employees, 1,400 employees. We're told that these are non-mission critical roles, that this was targeting those with lower performance. We've gotten wind that maybe some of these happened to slip through the cracks, we'll just say, that weren't lower performing, and maybe some of them were mission critical. We've gotten word that some of these people are actually getting hired back on, and so we've gotten some additional information, and I want to jump into it here. But before I do, I want to throw on a very special thank you to Wireless Sunday 9897. Thank you so very much for that super comment, super chat. I truly appreciate your support. You're a frequent flyer. I appreciate you so very much. Wireless Sunday 9897. Thank you. I look forward to seeing you in the comments. All right. So the headline here is a little bit concerning, considering all of the conversation that's been around this. And what we're looking at here is almost, I think, it's worrisome, I guess. So let's jump into it. The headline is VA puts some Veterans Crisis Line hires on hold as it considers putting remote jobs in office. So they have, I'm assuming, positions that need to be filled at the Veterans Crisis Line. But they're going to put those on hold while they still figure things out. In other words, leaving these unfilled positions unfilled. In a very critical role, and I would consider mission critical and needs to be, look, if I worked at Veterans Crisis Line and I was trying to fill positions, you could bet your bottom dollar that I would be pounding my fist on the desk saying, I don't care where or how or what needs to happen. I need cheeks in the seat, right? I need bodies here answering the phone. Let's make this happen now. Anyway, so let's see what they have to say. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I really appreciate it. The two asks are really, look, hit the thumbs up, let the video run. That's what tells YouTube to push this information on. Thank you so very much. If you want to support in other ways, consider being a member. You can go to the homepage. You'll see highlighted members and a join button. Thank you to all your members. I do my best to get back to you in the comments. All right. So many Veterans Crisis Line employees worked in the office pre-pandemic, but in most cases, they've moved to remote work. Now, a licensed clinical social worker spent months going through the hiring process for a job at the Veterans Crisis Line. The Department of Veterans Affairs says she'll have to keep waiting. The reason? The VA is in the process of bringing previously remote employees into the office, except department officials aren't sure what to do with the Veterans Crisis Line employees or where to put them. There's a quotation here. We regret to inform you that we are withdrawing our current federal job offer, or our current formal job offer, as VA human resource officials told the social worker in an email. At this time, remote work authorization has been canceled. The Veterans Crisis Line is actively working to secure office space for new employees while concurrently requesting an exemption that would allow staff to work remotely. The VA sent similar emails to at least a dozen of other prospective hires who received a final job offer for positions at the Veterans Crisis Line. We do not have an estimated time frame that we can provide regarding resolution, the email states. Once we have a resolution, we'll provide you with a formal job offer for consideration. This will include an updated start date and potentially an updated location to report to. The clinical social worker who spoke to Federal News Network on the condition of anonymity, close enough, said she was supposed to start her new job in a few weeks for the position that was advertised as fully remote. This delay is creating chaos and ultimately could have devastating outcomes regarding veterans and their families calling the Veterans Crisis Line, if not staffed adequately, the social worker said. The social worker applied for the VCL job last October and interviewed in November before receiving the job offer in recent weeks. While the federal hiring process often takes months to complete, HR officials told the social worker they were experiencing additional delays because they were locked out of USA Staffing, an onboarding portal run by the Office of Personnel Management. Federal News Network previously reported that some VA officials at the HR under the administration's hiring freeze encountered new pop-up windows on HR staffing that prevented them from taking the next step in hiring process until they heard back from OPM. That's interesting. They couldn't move forward with anything there for a while, the social worker said. VA officially exempted much of its workforce from government-wide hiring freeze and OPM's deferred resignation offer. Remember that the VA secretary had said something to the effect of 300,000 of VA employees were exempted. In practice, the department is encountering many of the same problems that agencies with fewer carve-outs are experiencing. VA Secretary Doug Collins, in recent video messages posted on X, said that the administration recent workforce policies haven't impacted veterans' benefits and said VA hasn't fired any Veterans Crisis Line responders. Senator Tammy Duckworth, however, that her office has been in contact with at least 2 former Veterans Crisis Line employees that were recently fired as part of the government-wide push to fire employees in their probationary period, and that the VA is in the process of rehiring them. While the Veterans Crisis Line is still trying to hire responders who answer the calls coming from veterans, current VCL employees have told Federal News Network that other hiring for other crisis line positions that support the frontline responders is frozen. The social worker told Federal News Network she's concerned that the administration officials may not fully realize the impact that this new return to office policy is having on VA. It appears that the return to work office mandate has created a hiring freeze on positions exempt from that freeze. Intentional or not, this is the reality of the return to office mandate, the social worker said. Federal News Network has reached out to the VA for comment. A current VCL responder in Atlanta said the VA officials are figuring out how to bring these remote employees back into the office. The thing about Atlanta is the office doesn't exist. They no longer have the building, the employee said. VCL employees in the area worked in the office before COVID-19. In 2020, Crisis Line staff moved to mandatory telework, and we granted official remote work status by 2022, allowing the department to downsize office space. We had a whole floor and we were pretty much on top of each other, but it worked. They don't need the space anymore. They basically shut it down. If you're not using the space, we're not going to waste the money, the VCL employee said, looking at VCL particularly in Atlanta. It would probably cost them more money than it's worth to actually put us from our remote status back into an office because you've got to find space. The VA recently rescinded telework and remote work policies for about 20% of its workforce, but will keep some of these policies in place as reasonable accommodations for employees with disabilities, as well as several other narrow exemptions. Several VCL employees have told the Federal News Network that the VA is directing them to be within 50 miles of one of 5 hubs, Atlanta, Topeka, Atlanta again, a name I can't say, Canandaigua. I don't know. I'm sorry. I've never had to say that word, and I can't speak anyway. So, New York, Waco, Texas, and Hot Springs, Arkansas. The Atlanta VCL employee estimates that the crisis line has roughly 2,000 employees, but only 1,110 or 1,200 live within 50 miles of one of these hubs. The others, they're out there in no man's land, and they have access to and don't have access to the facilities, the employee said. This is an ultimatum. I'm going to try to uproot, get closer, or I'm going to lose my job, is basically the situation. The VA recently fired 2,400 employees. That's in the 2 swooshes there, one of 1,000 and one of 1,400, still serving the probationary period. The department has another 40,000 probationary period employees, but said the workforce reductions won't impact VA healthcare or benefits. Amid all of this, the VCL employees said responders are seeing higher than average call volume. There's already enough, the crazy things happening make for stressful situations. So there's already enough of a backlog trying to get any type of appointment, but you cut staff and you make it even worse for us, he said. You're listening to veterans calling in, crying, saying this isn't fair. I need to get my benefits. It's a heavy burden to carry. And that completes it here from the Federal News Network. Again, this article came out not too long ago, and sharing it with you here today. It came out February 28th at 4:01 p.m. by Jory Heckman. All right. With that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you so very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.